The year 1997 began somewhat quietly, but as the year progressed, the name Tiger Woods would have everyone talking. Keeping with sports, this is also the year that Mike Tyson used his teeth instead of his fists to fend off Evander Holyfield. And as summer came to an end, we mourned the passing of a princess, which was a stunning event that captivated the world. On January 3rd, longtime host of The Today Show, Bryant Gumbel, said his final goodbye to viewers. The show would replace the legendary anchor with the up-and-coming Today Show newsman, Matt Lauer. On February 23rd, NBC aired the movie Schindler's List, completely uncensored. The broadcast of the 3-hour-long movie was watched by 65 million people. On March 9th, the 24-year-old Brooklyn rapper named the Notorious B.I.G. was killed in a drive-by shooting. Biggie had just left a Vibe magazine party at the Peterson Automotive Museum in Los Angeles when a car pulled up at a stoplight and fired into his vehicle, hitting him 4 times. 2 weeks later, his second album, entitled Life After Death, was released. On March 10th, the Palm Pilot, developed by Jeffrey Hawkins, was released. This personal digital assistant was a second-generation device that helped to grow Palm into a leader in the growing PDA industry. On March 13th, the Phoenix Lights were seen hovering over Phoenix, Arizona. Thousands of people saw them on the ground, and millions witnessed it on television. To this day, the unidentified lights have yet to be explained, and it fuels the UFO debate. On March 26th, in San Diego, California, the Heaven's Gate cult committed mass suicide at their compound, thinking the comet Hale-Bopp was bringing with it an alien spacecraft, and it would deliver them into a higher existence. On April 13th, at the U.S. Masters Tournament in Augusta, Georgia, a 21-year-old golf prodigy named Tiger Woods won his first major title. Not only did he win the green jacket, but he did so with a 12-stroke lead, which is a tournament record. On April 30th, 42 million people watched Ellen DeGeneres publicly come out as a lesbian in an episode of her TV show Ellen on ABC. A week prior, DeGeneres was also famously featured on the cover of Time magazine with the headline, "Yep, I'm gay." On June 2nd, in Denver, Colorado, domestic terrorist Timothy McVeigh was convicted for the 1995 Oklahoma City bombing. Unanimously, the jury recommended the death penalty, which would be carried out 4 years later. On June 28th, the second fight between Evander Holyfield and Mike Tyson took place in Las Vegas. During one of the most bizarre fights in history, Mike Tyson bit a piece of Evander Holyfield's ear off, but the fight was allowed to continue. Shortly after, he bit him again on the other ear, and the fight was eventually stopped, and Tyson was disqualified. Tyson would go on to lose his boxing license for a year. On July 15th, spree killer Andrew Cunanan shot fashion designer Gianni Versace to death outside his Miami Beach mansion and then fled. There seemed to be no motive for the killing, and Cunanan himself would take his own life 8 days later, using the same gun he killed Versace with. On July 21st, the fully restored USS Constitution, also known as Old Ironsides, celebrated her 200th birthday, setting sail for the first time in 116 years. On August 29th, Netflix was founded by Reed Hastings and Mark Randolph in Scotts Valley, California. Hastings has stated that a $40 fine he got from renting the movie Apollo 13 from Blockbuster sparked the idea for the business. On August 31st, Diana, Princess of Wales, died in a car accident in a Paris tunnel after being pursued by paparazzi. The death of Princess Diana was followed by an outpouring of grief from all over the world. Her funeral was held 5 days later, and an estimated 1 million people line the streets of London, with many more millions watching across the globe. On September 15th, Google.com was registered as a domain name by a virtually unknown company that incorporated just 11 days earlier. On September 16th, Apple named co-founder Steve Jobs their interim CEO. Not only did Apple rehire Jobs, but they also bought his company Next for $400 million a year earlier. On October 4th, the second largest cash robbery in U.S. history occurred at the Charlotte, North Carolina office of Wells Fargo. The Loomis Fargo bank robbery netted over $17 million in small bills, but the criminals and Loomis Fargo employees behind it would be caught and most of the money would be recovered. October 12th brought us the tragic news of the death of folk singer John Denver. Denver was flying alone in his experimental aircraft, practicing touch-and-go landings when his plane crashed into Monterey Bay along the California coast. On October 16th, the very first color photograph appeared on the front page of the New York Times. Cleveland Indians shortstop Tony Fernandez and Attorney General Janet Reno have the distinct honor of being the first people on the front page in color. On November 14th, former teacher Mary Kay Letourneau was sentenced to 6 months in prison in Washington state after pleading guilty to 2 counts of second-degree child rape. Letourneau had also given birth to her victim's child, and the sentence was widely criticized for being too lenient. On November 19th, in Des Moines, Iowa, Bobby McCoy gave birth to septuplets. This would be the second known case where all 7 babies were born alive, and the first in which all survived infancy. To close out the year, on December 19th, the James Cameron-directed Titanic premiered in theaters. The film starring Leonardo DiCaprio and Kate Winslet would not only bring the Titanic back using special effects, but it would become the highest-grossing film of all time.